So let's talk about the steps, the literal steps. Now, what I just talked to you about is this is how you need to think, but let's talk about the activity that you need to consider. So decide how much funding you want to use. If you want to start small, put that in your mind. I'm going to start small and grow bigger. You have a situation where things don't look right. Why do they have all these products sitting here? Maybe your funding might not meet the highest level of the items that are just sitting there, but maybe you say, I just want to invest this much. I do that still, even with government contracts. I do, especially with DLA stuff or products with the Veterans Administration. I do it with products. Do you want to invest $5,000 and only make $2,000? I mean, for some people, that might be okay. For me, I find out what I want my numbers to be before I start digging in. And how can I figure that out? I can look at some of the products. You might not know immediately how much you want to put aside to invest. How are you going to figure that out? You should start doing research with some of the products. Michelle, how does that connect to me figuring out how much funding? Because the pricing is there. I'm going to show you. The pricing is there. So if you start looking at a certain category and it looks like it's $1,000 per unit on average, maybe, and you don't want to spend $1,000 per unit, that's not your category. If you say, I don't want to spend more than $400 per unit, I can do that. Then when you're looking around, you immediately look at pricing before you go any further. And you say, okay, this is under my $400 per unit category. I can do this. That's how you have to think. Okay. B, review the DLA FSC product list that I just showed you and become familiar with what DLA buys. Now, some people just look at the product list and they think, okay, this is a good category, but those categories, they're too high level. And I'll show you what I mean by that. I have an example in here. So you need to take the codes and look at it inside of DIBS. So the product category is material manufacturing. Okay, what kind of material? You take that product code and you put it in the system and it'll show you what they're buying under that product code. Okay, some of the product codes may represent something different. That's what I mean by that. And then D, begin choosing the products that may be in an industry that you know. That's an easy way to get started also, because you may already have some supplier relationships. If you're an electrical engineer or you own an electrical company or electrical manufacturing company, but you don't make all of the products that the government wants in DLA, that's a great area for you. It makes sense. You know who the suppliers are. You could set up a business account with them. You have relationships. Okay. Have a business, just consider that. If you're in an industry that you like or that you could see yourself keeping your service business on the electrical side as an example, or on the janitorial side, I use janitorial as an example, but you want to start providing products, which you should, because nobody should have one stream of income. No entrepreneur should. You can't grow and keep your wealth like that. But this government contracting allows you to diversify, especially DLA. Okay. So this was the example I was talking about. So look at this. This says other building materials. If you're a construction company, I mean, that might mean something to you. Or if you are in other electronic component manufacturing, that might mean something to you. But these are high level and they're general. So here's the code, 5910. So because they're so high level, I need to go into DLA and look and see what comes up under these codes. So here's the example. Look at this. Variable capacitors, 5910. I would never have thought that 5910 would have these codes. I mean, these descriptions, these products. It's weird to me. They don't name these categories very good. Sometimes they're very close, like clothing manufacturing. Okay, you look at a code for clothing manufacturing, you're going to see clothing. But some of them are very, very deceiving, not on purpose, but they're too high level. Why do they call this? And remember, the government owns NSNs. The government owns this code right here, the FSC 5910. That is a government code. NAICS codes belong to the commercial industry. The government just uses them. But NAICS codes are also high level. Some of you guys have probably realized you got the wrong NAICS codes in your SAM because you're thinking, well, it says this is clothing manufacturing, but that's not what the government is using. The government might use something similar, and here's why. The government will never mess up when it comes to FSC codes. They match, and what I mean by that is, if they say that they're doing capacitors under 5910, they're doing capacitors under 5910. But you wouldn't know that until you come in here and look it up. But with the NAICS code, let me show you something that's connected, like right here. All three of these, you should see my, let me just make sure you guys are with me. Yeah, you can see where I am. Okay, so look at this. All three of these, this is 5910 for all three of these. But when you look at the NAICS codes, they're all different. Or two of them are the same, one of them is different. That is because a lot of contracting officers use the wrong NAICS code. The government is not always right on the money with the NAICS codes, but they are with the FSC codes. Once you learn what's connected to that FSC code, I now know that capacitors are connected to 5910. So with DLA, you will never use NAICS codes anyway. But when you go over to SAM, can you look up 5910? Yes. Can you do a bid over on the SAM side under 5910? Yes. And is it going to be the same things that they label in DLA? Yes. The products are going to be the same. But guess what? You probably will see maybe 4 or 5 different NAICS codes. NAICS codes do not always match the FSC codes. Okay, so just keep that in mind.